Your review in Lekut Sichas and Chelek Tezayin. This is the Sikh of Shemos and Chavdala Taves for the 24th of Taves. The Rebbe speaks about the connection between the yard site of the Alter Rebbe, which is indicated by saying that is Motzei Shabbos Parshas Shemos, so it has a connection to Shemos, and the events that happened in the week are to be found in the Parsha. The Rebbe brings out the name Shemos has two paradox. On one hand, the Shemos is something which is needed only for externally. Person doesn't need a name for himself, just somebody can call him. So it means it's something not really touches him, but yet we know that if a person faints or sometimes you call him by the name, you can bring him back to life. And the Rebbe also says the idea of exile is a similar idea, and that's why the Alter Rebbe passed away in exile, because that was the whole inyan of the gilui of the yechida of the neshama comes into play when there is a helem, when there is no revealed koiches. So then you come on, then you bring the level of yechida. That's why the idea of golus stavke, then we can get the higher level, and that's also the idea of Hasidus. This is when the generally in Golus that brings out the highest levels as the Rebbe connects all these pieces together, as we'll see inside. First, the Rebbe brings down Shmois Chavdal Tavis Aleph. The Tzemach Tzedek schreibt. The Tzemach Tzedek writes wegen der Histalkus von Alten Rebbe about the passing of the Alten Rebbe. Nochum Bashraim Bikitzer, after he writes up in short, the Tiltulim was the Alter Rebbe had durchgemacht, all the various different tribulations that the Alter Rebbe suffered. At Leifendik von the Tzarfatim, as he was running away from the French, from Napoleon. Bis zu dann Ankommen in Dorf Piena, until he arrived in the village of Piena, and he arrived there Erev Shabbos Vayishlach Tov Kuf Ayin Gimel, in the year Tov Kuf Ayin Gimel, Friday before the portion of Vayishlach. So the Alter Rebbe writes that Motzei Shabbos Kodesh D'Shmois. So it was Shabbos night, after the Shabbos night of the portion of Shmois. It was Chov Gimel. It was the 23rd of the day. Oir L'Chov Daled Tavis. That was the night before the 24th of Tavis. Ki Chatzois Shah Yud Aleph. Half an hour into the 11th hour of Shabbos, of Saturday of Shabbos. Nishbar and HaKodesh, the Holy Ark has been captured, taken away. Moed Yisrael, Mashiach Hashem, the luminary of Israel, the anointed by Hashem, V'chulu. The Alter Rebbe's passing was at that time, on Motzei Shabbos of Shmois, on the 23rd, before the 24th of Tavis. Half an hour in the 11th hour. So the fact that the Tzemach Tzedek makes a note that it was Parshas Shmois and it was Chav Gimel Tavis means that there's a connection to the Parshas Shmois. It's Yedua. It's known as Alle Moyedei Hashana, that all festivals, all times of the year. And we can say also the days of tzaddikim. They're not exactly a festival of the year, but there's also we can extend it to the days of tzaddikim. So therefore, if we're connecting it to the days of tzaddikim, so their birthdays and the days of their passing, the hilulas of tzaddikim, they have a connection to the content, to the ideas of the parsha in the Torah, that you read there. So basically, the Alter Rebbe Yortzeit of Dalet Tavis is associated with the Parsha of Shmois. So there's a connection from the Parsha of Shmois to the Yortzeit of the Alter Rebbe. Now, although it was actually after Shabbos already, and it was already Chav Dalet Tavis, Shabbos was Chav Gimel, and this was Chav Dalet, but you see from the Tzemach Tzedek's writing that he dafke associates it with the Shabbos. Motzei Shabbos is still connected to the Shabbos. It's still before Chatzois. Now, derech zeh is very verstandig von dem Teure Wort von dem Bal HaHilula. And this is also understood, the same concept, the expression, the Torah word that comes from the Bal HaHilula, from the Alter Rebbe, whose Hilula is Chavdala Taves, from the Alter Rebbe, as men darf leben mit der Zeit, with the Parshas HaShavua, that one needs to live with the time, and is interpreted that you have to live with the Parshas Shavua. So if Chavdala Tavis is in Parshas Shemos, we have to live with the Parshas Shemos on what happened in Chavdala Tavis, Ubin Yonenu. And as far as we're concerned in our issues over here about the Yortzeit of the Alter Rebbe, Agam as the Istalkus von Alten Rebbe, although the passing of the Alter Rebbe is given was Oir Chavdala Tavis, the night to Chavdala Tavis. That means that it's already Chavdala Tavis versus Oiz Gefallen Yom Aleph from Parshas Ve'era. That came out on Sunday of the Parshas Ve'era. Sunday begins with sundown or Sesek Chavim, the night of the Motzei Shabbos. And that was when Chavdala Tavis was. So they basically, it turns out that the passing was really on Sunday Chavdala Tavis. But their fun was their tzema. So it seems that we should find a connection to the Parshas Ve'era, not to the Parshas Shemos. However, the Rebbe says, their fun ober. However, from this was their tzemach tzedek hot sich nit banugund. Tzemach tzedek wasn't satisfied with onzeichen and blois dem zman von Eirlich of Dal Tevis. He was not satisfied just to mark the time. He could have just said it was the night for Chavdala Tevis, so then it's associated to Sunday, to Chavdala Tevis, and then nothing to do with the Parsha Shemos. But the Tzemach Tzedek did not write that. Und viele nicht mit Moshe sein dem Tag von Woch, Motzei Shabbos Kodesh. And not only did he not just say the night of the 24th of Tavis, he could have, if he wanted to add, he could have said it was Motzei Shabbos Kodesh. So we already know that it's Motzei Shabbos Kodesh, that it's the night before. But it wouldn't be an emphasis then if he's just said that it has to do with the Parsha Shemos. But but he actually adds also to as he's given the Motzei Shabbos Kodesh the Shemos, that this was a Motzei Shabbos of Shemos. Unochmer, not only does he say that it was Saturday night of Shemos, he says specifically that the Shabbos Kodesh of Shemos was on the 23rd day of Tavis. Why did he need to add all this? Is there fun verstanding? So from this it's understood as this stalkus hotashayches that this passing also is connected. Will be iker and mainly connected to Parsha Shemos, to the portion of Shemos. So the fact that the Tzemach Tzedek clearly stresses the point that it was Motzei Shabbos Kodesh of Shemos and also tells us the date. It was Chum Gimel. It means that he wants to tell us that that is also connected, or that's mainly connected to the Shabbos, the Parsha Shemos. So we'll find a connection to the Parsha Shemos. And especially the actual passing was on Motzei Shabbos, was before midnight, and that's still connected to Shabbos. Ubefrat, especially as der Genoyers man ha'istalkus, that the exact time of the passing is given with the Tzemach Tzedek schreibt, was, as the Tzemach Tzedek writes, Kechatzoit Sho Yudalov. It was a half an hour into the 11th hour. And so that's still Motzei Shabbos until midnight was Benegeya Kamod Dinim V'inyonim, as it is associated to many laws and aspects. That's still connected to Shabbos. So these, as it's known, these days, these shows from Motzei Shabbos Kodesh, Far Chatzois Alaylo, those hours from Saturday night, Motzei Shabbos Kodesh that are before midnight, Ashachas to Shabbos, they have a connection to Shabbos. He says, B'meila Abazunder Bavai, so therefore this is a separate indication. It points to of their Shaychas for the Istalkus to Parsha Shemos Davke, the connection from the passing to the Parsha Shemos Daf. The Rebbe wants to say here that it's a Tzedek, the way he writes it. There is definitely some connection to the Parsha Shemos that is implied over here by the Tzemach Tzedek's writing, that it's connection to the Parsha Shemos. What is unique about the Parsha Shemos versus the other parshas that preceded and after it? In all the parshas, even though we're talking already about exile, but it's not really the complete exile, because up till Shemos, while the brothers of Yosef, while Yosef and his brothers were still around, the real servitude, exile did not really start. And then in Parshas Va'era, after the Parshas Shemos, we're already giving the Makis, so there's already some Geula there. What's fully Golus is Shemos, the Parsha of Shemos. Shemos is exile, base. And the Rebbe is going to to connect that to the exile of the Alter Rebbe, that he passed away, and his and even that Yutas Kislev, that year of the passing in Tov Kufay and Gimel, they came out of Kodesh Pashas Vayishlach. So the celebration of Yutas Kislev was in Golus over there, which means the whole idea of the Alter Rebbe, the end of his life, when all of his avodah of his life is associated with Golus. Let's look inside. Base. The Teuchen from Parshas Shemos, the content of the portion of Shemos is Golus v'Shibud Mitzrayim. That's exile and the enslavement in Egypt. In the parshas was far Parshas Shemos, on the portions that precede, that are before the portion of Shemos, which is Vayigash and Vayichri, the portion of Vayigash and Vayichri, Retzich wegen dem Zman von far Shibud Mitzrayim. That is discussing about the time that is prior to the enslavement of Egypt. Hagam Sishen given the Yiridim Mitzrayim. Although the descent in Egypt already took place, but the enslavement has not begun yet. That was prior to the enslavement. As our sages of blessed memory say, that kol zaman shahoya echad nehem kaim, as long that one of the brothers were still alive, the Egyptians did not enslave the Jewish people. So basically, as long as they lived, the Yidden did not really start their the enslavement in Egypt. So that means that Vayigash and Vayichi are not enslavement yet, because that was still alive. The Shvatim were alive then. Leidach, on the other hand, after in the Parshas was noch Shemos, the portions that are following Shemos, Parshas Va'erom Boy, the portion of Va'erom Boy. Hagam as euch in Zei werden geredt wegen the Tkufes HaShibud. Although also there in those Parshas, they discuss the periods during the times of the enslavement von the Yidden in Mitzrayim, from the Jews in Egypt. Von deswegen selten sich schon on in Parshas Va'era, yet you can still begin to see in the portion of Va'era the zeichens of the running for the Geula, the signs for the beginning of redemption. The oasis, most of the signs, the wonders was the Eibishter Bavisen that Hashem showed. Und die Makis was gebracht auf die Mitzrayim, and the Makis, the plagues that Hashem brought on the Egyptian. So there is already a little bit of a light in those parshas. It's not fully. If the Shibud Guf is done, geworden geringer, the actual enslavement itself in the parshas Va'era and Boy became less, noch mer, and even more. Chazal Zogun, our sages of blessed memory, say, as Bereish Hashanah botla avoda ma'aviseinu b'Mitzrayim. That already starting from Rosh Hashanah, the Yidden went out in Nisan, but starting from Rosh Hashanah, the work has already ceased from our fathers in Egypt. They didn't have to work anymore. The Shibud stopped. So that means in Parshas Va'era, if you figure out, it says already from the time of Rosh Hashanah, there was no real slavery. When Achas come in Parshas Boy, and for sure when we come already to the portion of Boy, was Vetchen der Zelt wegen der Geula bepoil. Over there, it's already relates to us the story of the actual redemption. So the portions before Shemos and the portions after Shemos do not really fully discuss the actual slavery of the Yidden in Egypt. But on the Parsha Shemos, I can't get in Parsha Shemos. But on the other hand, in the portion of Shemos, wo der Teuchen von der ganzen Sedre besteht, the contents, the entire portion consists of from protim in goidel v'koishe hashibu, details about the great and the difficulty of the enslavement. So that's all of the Parsha Shemos. Bis zu den Zählen in Seufen der Sedra, till he relates in the end of the Sedra, as Pare had Geyser given, Pare decreed, Lois Sifun Losses, don't give any more the straws, after the Yidden asked that Moshe Rabbeinu came to ask them to become a little bit less. So he says, no, not going to give him even the straw. Tichbad havoida al hanoshim. His response, let the work become heavier on the people. So you see, it's the intense and the very strong labor and golus that the Yidden suffered in the Parshas, related in the Parshas Shemos. To the extent that even Moshe Rabbeinu argued to Hashem, from the time I came to Pare, he made it worse to these people. So we see that we're all talking about the time that things were difficult for the Yidden. So this also, the Rebbe says, fits in with the fact that the Parsha Shemos, since it talks about the difficulty of Golus, also fits in with the fact that the Alter Rebbe's passing is the Parsha Shemos, because that was also while they were running and they were in exile, they moved from their home in Liadi, where they lived, and they were running and they were in exile then. With this, you can possibly explain the shaykhus for the ristalkus from Alter Rebbe to Parshas Shemos, the connection of the passing of the Alter Rebbe to the portion of Shemos. Vidermont Frier, as mentioned earlier, is the histalkus von Alter Rebbe given. The Alter Rebbe's passing took place based on Gefinnen sich in Golus, when they found themselves in exile. And using the language that Tzemach Tzedek, when they were running from the French, he was being moved around until they came to the village of Piena. And as the details of all of the movements and the pains, the sufferings, are written up in a letter of the Mittler Rebbe, in Beis Rebbe, and then in Sefer HaToldos, they discuss the letter of the Mittler Rebbe, articulating what they went through and the suffering that they went through. So this is the Parsha Shemos is the Parsha of exile, and this fits with the Alter Rebbe's passing over there. And the Rebbe is going to say that a day of passing is the time of the avodah of the tzaddik that gather all together, and also the celebration of Yitzchak Kislev took place in Golus. Somehow, this seems like this whole idea of Golus is associated with the Alter Rebbe, as the Rebbe will articulate now. Also, the name Shneier Zalman, as the Rebbe will bring it down out. Gimel. Since you do was der Baal HaHilula schreibt wegen dem Inyan von Hilula v'Histalkus. It's known that which the Baal HaHilula, the Alter Rebbe, writes about the matter of the passing and Histalkus of a tzaddik. The Alter Rebbe himself writes it in Tanya, as damals seinen Eule Lemailo, that at the time of his passing, they go up above. All of his actions, what he did, all of his teaching, all of his learning, and all of his service, Asher Ovid Kol Yemei Chayav, that he worked during his lifetime, all are elevated above. Und das wird misgalo umeir b'bchinas gilui. And then that is revealed and shines in a revealed way. Milmailo lemato beis piterosoi. So they all go up, and then it shines from above. From where they go up at the time of the passing, it comes down to shine into the world. Bald as jeder Geschehnis ist doch Bashgocha Protis. So everything that happens is by divine providence. So the fact that the Alter Rebbe, his Torah and his Avodah, everything is in Golus, it's being elevated. So this is by divine providence. It must have a connection to Golus, the Avodah of the Alter Rebbe. So everything what happens is by specific divine supervision. Alachas kama v'kama. How much more so? Azar was pasit b'tatzadik v'nosi hader. Something which took place with a righteous, with a tzaddik, and a leader of the generation, is by divine providence. So the fact that he passed away in Golus, and that was his avodah, means that was his avodah. Is the fun verstandig. So from that we understand, it's understood. As those was the mountain Rebbe's histalkus is given in Golus. The fact that the Alter Rebbe's passing was in Golus is thus advised. That is a proof, that's evidence of them kesher upnimis dike shayches, on the tie, an inner connection zwischen Meiser v'terosoi v'avidosoi from Bal HaHilula. The actions, teachings, and service of the Bal HaHilula, there's a connection to Golus because this was all took place in Golus. They go up and reveal and shine during these talkus, that it has a connection with their Maila from the Avodah Zman HaGolus Dafke, that there is connected with the special elevation, advantage of the service in the time of Golus Dafke. Und der Fun is euch nicht tausel geworden in Gashmis, and that's why it also evolved and also came out physically as ein Istalkus is given in Golus Kipshute, that the passing was actually in exile, literally. He was in Kfar Piena, he wasn't at home, he was in exile then. So that came out because this is actually what the Alter Rebbe's idea was. His actions, his Torah and Avodah, have to do with the idea of exile, and that's why it came out during exile. Yesh Loimar, not only is this passing take place, but also Yutas Kislev, which is the time of the main revelation, the Rosh Hashanah for Chassidus, is also in Golus. Yesh Loimar, Hadas is Euch der Tam, this is also the reason. Was the letzter Chag HaGeula for Yutas Kislev, the last festival of redemption of Yutas Kislev, was the Alter Rebbe gepravet, that the Alter Rebbe celebrated B'chaim Chayusi B'almedein during his lifetime in this world, is given in them Golus or Fuzayin Histalkus, that took place in the place of exile where he passed away. That was where Yutas Kislev again. As we mentioned earlier, what the Tzemach Tzedek said is Biyosun Lipiana. When did they come to Piana? Given Erev Shabbos Vayishlach, that was the Friday of Vayishlach, was Dosis given for Yutas Kislev. That was before Yutas Kislev. So that means that the celebration was in Kfar Piana. The Rebbe brings down in a note that in the Shemos from the Friedrich Rebbe, it seems like that he came on Friday, Ches Taves, that was after. But the Rebbe says, regardless, the Rebbe says, maybe it's a copy mistake, whatever, but regardless, the Rebbe says still he wasn't home, he was still in Golus. So whether it was in Piana or they left already from before Rosh Hashanah, they were already running away. So he was in exile regardless. So why was the celebration in Golus or Vibal Yutas Kislev? Since Yutas Kislev, which is the Rosh Hashanah LeChasidus, that's the Rosh Hashanah for Chasidus, is the Nekuda HaTechoina. That is the point, inner point for Ma'asav V'Terosov, the action teaching and service of the Alter Rebbe from the Bala Hayilula, from Hayilula, that is connected with the advantage of the service during the time of Golus, Kinal. As mentioned earlier, that's why the passing was in Golus. It means that there is an advantage. The Faris Sein letzter Yutis Kislev. That's why also the last Yutis Kislev. But thus meant, since it's the last Yutis Kislev, that was the highest elevation. But thus meant B'meila, since it was the last, this means automatically the Hechster Ilui from the Miyom Naila, the greatest elevation of this elevated day, Yutis Kislev, the elevated day, and the greatest is B'tkufas Chayim B'ol Modain, in the lifetime, in the period of his lifetime in this world, because every year there is an uvibaldas b'chol shana v'shana yered the meir chodesh. Every year and years the lashon of the Alter Rebbe, but with regards to Rosh Hashanah, that every year it descends and shines. A new and renewed light, which never shone in this world, that comes down. So that means that last Rosh Hashanah was the highest light that came down during his lifetime, and it was given in Golus. So that took place in Golus, in Nochber. And furthermore, in the Zelbun Golus Ort vus is given sein Istalkus, in the same place of exile where there was his passing. Because then all of his actions, teaching and avedose betachlis hashlemus canal, in the ultimate wholesomeness, as we said before, because on Yutis Kislev, on the day of passing, that's when everything is elevated and comes down, and this means that his Maila is the level of Golus, because that's where the passing was, and therefore also Yutis Kislev, the celebration was in the Golus, because this is really what the Avodah Alter Rebbe. What is the connection with the Avodah in the Zman HaGolus and with the Alter Rebbe's Avodah? The Rebbe brings down the two extremes of the idea of a name, that on one hand the name is external and yet it touches the essence of the soul. A name, a similar thing is that difference between the time of exile and the time of Beis Hamikdash. In the Beis Hamikdash, we don't have that revelation of the inner of the soul. It's Tafke and the Golus. Bet Dalet, bet Menas Verstehen. So we'll understand this la'achar mevet mevaris in the Minyan Hanal. After we'll explain the above idea, as the Teuchen von Parsha Shemos is Golus v'Shibud Mitzrayim. The idea, central, the theme of Parsha Shemos is exile and the enslavement of Egypt. Shegeret Filmo. So we've spoken many times. Why would the theme of Golus be described with the name Shemos? Shemos is talking about the exile. Why would Shemos be the name? It almost seems like the name of Shemos represents a chiddush, a specialty, as the Rebbe will bring down. So why does the Golus called the Shemos? And the Rebbe said the two aspects that Hashem has in itself. Shegeret Filmod, we have already spoken many times as the nomen von Sedra, the name of the Sedra, Drikt Ois mit sich, express it with itself, that inhalt of the ganze Sedra, the contents of the entire Sedra. It has the theme of the Sedra. He says, nicht verstandig in unser Inyan, so it's not understood in our matter. Das was der Wort Shmois and halt in sich is the, what is the word when you say Shmois? What does it contain? What does it mean? Hepech from the Minyan from Golus Mitzrayim, that would seem to have the opposite of the concept of the exile of Egypt. Vile. Aleph, number one, Chazal Zogan, our sages of blessed memory say, we freed the month, as we said earlier, as long as there was one of them still around from those that descended to Egypt. L'shibdu hamitzrim b'Yisrael. The Egyptians did not enslave the Jewish people. So as long as there was one left, anybody of the before, they did not enslave them. Kum dochui, so it turns out, as the inyan from Shemos b'nei Yisrael aboy Mitzrayim. So the first pasuk, the names of the b'nei Yisrael that came to Mitzrayim, that names object and don't allow for Golus. So God neither lost them shibud from Mitzrayim. That did not allow the enslavement of Mitzrayim because they were still around. They lived. They couldn't be Meshabed them. So why would the Shmois be the name of the theme of Golus? Beis Eichti Bazunder had Goshe for the word Shmois Gufa. Besides Shmois, whose names we're talking about the names of the Bnei Yisrael, but just the word Shmois itself. Name. Those was the Eibishter Nocham ol Gitzel b'Shmoisam. Why did Hashem once again count them each one by the names when they've already been counted earlier in the Chumash Bereshis? Is doch given, as Rashi says, it was because Rashi says, Lehoidia chibosam, to proclaim and announce their love, their dearness. How Hashem was der Heipach von Golus v'Kusha Ashibut von the Eden, which is opposite of the exile and the difficulty of enslavement of the Yidden. We're talking here about the deer, how special they are. It's not the same as the Yidden working and laboring for the Egyptians there. About which it's related in the portion. Why do we call this Shmois? The name Shmois, which is a level of Chashivus, doesn't fit with the slavery of the Yidden. And number three, Gimel, the Shemes Zayin Gor, Kimaimar Chazal, these names, as Chazal told us, Hashem Gulas Yisrael Niskurakan. They were mentioned over here. It says in Shmei Rabbah that this is for the redemption of the Yidden that they were mentioned over here. So why is the name called Shemos, the content of the parsha, which is a parsha of exile, when it doesn't seem to fit, not with the fact that the Yidden weren't enslaved until the Shemos was around of the Shvatim, didn't start the Golus. Also, the name means that they are important, which is fit with Golus, which slavery. And the Chalal, the Medrash says it refers to the Golun Shal Yisrael, and this is the slavery. Hey, so Bira Indians understand this idea as der Ilu in der Avoide Basteit, the Ilu in der Avoide von Zman HaGolus Basteit derin. That what is the advantage in the service of the time of exile consists was Davke Demult Vertan Plekt der Koyach HaMesiras Nefesh von Aiden. It's only then that the power of Mesiras Nefesh of a Yid is revealed, that is in exile. Was nimmt sich vom Beginnes Yechidish Nefesh. That comes, that ability, the power from Mesiras Nefesh comes from the level of Yechidah in the soul, which is the Etzem HaNeshama, the essence of the soul. Warum der Koyach von Yechidah Shebenefesh, the power of the Yechidah of the soul, Yechidah Etzem HaNeshama, the essence of Neshama, drickt sich ois beikr, that mainly is expressed dort in a situation, und in dem Maße, and in this condition, was felt der Banem und Hergesh in Elokus, in which you're lacking the accepting and the feeling in godliness mitzad koyches hagaluyim, from your revealed powers, in which the revealed powers cannot function and do not reach the godliness. That's when comes into play the Yechidah from the Neshamas. So when you cannot take and feel godliness for the Koyach Sageluv Neshama, und die Iskashrus Belakus is damut nit azoy durch the Koyach Sageluv. So then your tie and your connection to godliness is not so much through the revealed power, nor mitzadem etzem von a Yid, but because of the essence of a Yid. Und and therefore, in dem Zman, when the Beis Hamikdash is Kayim, und Elokus is Meir Bigilui, when the Beis Hamikdash is in existence and godliness is open, is euch the Iker Avodah for Yidden given mitzad the koiches hageluim. So the main service of Yidden was because of the revealed powers. They haben der Herd alakusa yizbarach. They sensed His blessed godliness in the koiches penimim v'giluim for seichel midas, in the inner and revealed powers of the intellect and emotion. That's how the Yidden connected during the time of the Beis Hamikdash. Godliness was open, and they can perceive it, and they can reach it through their koiches penimim and giluim for seichel midas. And since that is a type of a service which is reason, based on reason and knowledge and feeling, is the liber nit nirgesh in der avodah der koyach v'yichida. So that's why in that service you don't feel the power of yichida. Davke is managolus, but specifically in the time of exile, then that oid eliki is behela vehesta, when the godly light is obscure and hidden. They say, like quoting from the Tehillim, the pasuk, it says, we don't see no signs. There's nobody with us knows until what? We don't have any understanding, we're not feeling it, we're not sensing. The koiches hageluim are not functioning. And there is obscurity, there's blockages, there is challenges, tests of the Avodah von Torah mitzvah, on the service of Torah mitzvahs. Davke dan, specifically then at the time, violent, because sie felt die Wirkung von the Gilui dike koiches haneshama, you're lacking the impact of the revealed parts of the soul because of all of the blockage and obscurity that Golus brings with it. That's when the power of the Yechid of the soul is aroused to starken sich die Schwierigkeiten, to strengthen over these difficulties, and the challenges, the tests of Kimat Torah mitzvahs, on the observance of Torah mitzvahs. Then mitzad dem etzem he is kashrus von Eden zum Ebershter, because of the essence connection, because from a Yid and Hashem. It's when you don't have that open connection, and that's obscure and blocked and hidden, where the inner neshama, the chaya, the hida of the neshama comes into play. Und das ist gewähnt den Inyan von Golus Mitzrayim Golus Bechlal. This was the idea of the exile of Mitzrayim, and generally that's what Golus is. Was dafke durch them, it's specifically through the exile, is gekommen zum Oizrok. It came to expression the atzmizdike is kashrus von Eden zum Oberster, the essence connection from a Yid to Hashem. Das is given the hachone zu Matan Torah, and that was the preparation for giving of the Torah. Was euch. So to bring about that essence connection, you needed go through the Golus Mitzrayim, in which the inner part of the soul came to play. You needed to bring that out. And this is preparing for Matan Torah. Because why? Was that taskless for Matan Torah? Because also the goal of Matan Torah is to mamshir zayin elakus in the Dvarim Gashmim, to draw down godliness in physical matters, which are low. Und durch Torah mitzvahs, and through Torah mitzvahs, they should also become a dwelling place to Hashem, blessed. Because specifically in this expresses the essence of Torah is in the Gashmis, in the Tachtoinim. Over there you can sense the essence of Torah. And that's why you needed to go through the Golus Mitzrayim, because we need to reveal the level of Yehidah. In Ois Vav, the Rebbe will bring out that the above mentioned advantage that we have in the time of Golus, that because we don't see the revealed, our inner revealed koiches are not functioning, we get the level of Yechidah, is actually the idea of a shame of a name. Vav. That Oibin Gesogter Biur, the above mentioned explanation in der Meile von Avodah in Zman HaGolus, about the advantage of the service during the time of exile. As hagam sleichni der oir eleki begilui. Although the godly light does not shine openly, und doch wer davke demol, and yet it is specifically then nizgala der etzem haneshama, the essence of the neshama is revealed them. Is merumas in the minyan for Shemos, it is hinted in the idea of a names. In the shaykhis von nomen to mention the connection from a name to a person, but trok dem nomen that carries the name. Gefindt man zwei Kitzovis. We find two extremes. Von einer Seite sagt man, on one hand, you see as der Baal Hashem zu lieb sich allein, that the one who carries the name for his own purposes, nötigt sich im Ganzen nicht in einem Nomen, does not need at all the whole idea of name. He doesn't need a name for himself. Menutztes nor via mittel, it's only used as a means, as der Zweiter soll ihn kennen rufen, so the other one should be able to call him. Das heißt, this means, as der Nomen is lechere blois an äußerliche Sach, berech von Menschen, that the name is seemingly just an external matter and relationship to the person, underfar. Because it's only external, kemen von a Nomen nit haben kein Begriff. From a name, you don't have really an idea in the mahus von the mention about the essence, who the person is. Was with them nomen, who we call, it's a name we don't know. Evidence to that is, as einen do, voran mehrere Menschen, there are many people mit demselben Nomen, many people have the same name, based in their mahus, and at the time, who they are, können sie sein, they can be opposite from one extreme to the other extreme. They share the same name. That means that the name does not really express who they are. Weil der Shem spiegelt nicht auf dem Hus von Baal Hashem. A name does not mirror the essence of who is the one called by the name. Nicht wie das ist in dem Inyan von Eure. This is different when we talk about the shine. Was spiegelt up the moyer, that mirrors the luminary. The light from the luminary is a reflection of the luminary. Und vom Metzias ha'oyer kemen haben hasoge, from the existence of the light, you can have a grasp, an idea in a moyer about the luminary, because there is a relationship between the oyer and the moyer, unlike the shame has nothing really to do with the person himself. That's on one hand. But on the other hand, from the Zweiter Zayt, but on the other hand, is Yudua, it's known as the Nomen von a mention, that the name of a person, has a connection to the essence of the person. As the person is beyond, higher than his revealed powers. It has a connection to even higher. What's the proof? What's the evidence for this? Shas meruft a mention by sein Nomen, when you call a person by his name, gitter sich haver wend, he turns, unaker, he turns. His whole essence, and even more than this, when I mentioned when a person faints, God forbid, was this meant, which means as der chayis hanefesh is in a matzah funis almus, that the vitality of the soul is in a condition of hidden, und is abgetrogen von gilu beguf, and it is removed from the revelation in the body. He fainted, so the body, it's sort of a separation. So how do you revive the person? The person is revived durch dem, was man ruft ihm bei sein Namen, through this that you call him by his name. Was das ist aber weiß, so that is evidence, as der Shem hat a kesher, that the Shem does have a connection, urirт on in etzem chayis hanefesh, and it touches the essence of the vitality of the soul. And that's why he can underfar. That's why the name, calling him by the name, has the power to mamshich sein, dem chayis tzirik in the koyach haguf, to extend again the vitality back into the body by touching the etzem of the soul, to waking it up to be nimshich in the body. Underin, and in that aspect is the amaili shem legabe. That is an advantage in the idea of a name relative to the level of a shine, by a light. Because although from the light you can know the luminary von deswegen is Oir nit mamshich dem etzel hamoir, but yet the Oir does not bring down the essence of the Moir, as opposed to the name brings down the essence of the Chais, of the Neshama. Das heißt, which means as der Etzem von dem Odom drückt sich aus Davke, that where does the essence of the person express itself? Specifically, dort wo setzt sich nicht kein Gilu di Keshayches, to mention in a place where you don't see a visible, a revealed connection to the person. So when in the name, which you don't see an open connection to the person, it doesn't reflect the person, over there expresses itself the essence of the soul to revive the person. This is similar, we get frir in the Milas Haveda von Zman HaGolus. As we spoken earlier about the advantage of service during the time of Golus, as der Etzem von Aiden wird is Gale Dafke, that the essence of a Yid is specifically revealed in the Helam Vehester from Zman HaGolus, in the obscurity and the blockage of the time of Golus. That's when you get the Yechida to function. Same thing here. The essence of the soul comes out in the name, which is not revealedly connected to the soul. And this will also explain the Alter Rebbe's connection to the idea of Golus, because Alter Rebbe basically came about to reveal in the world, to change the world, the essence of the world in Golus, to take in the lowest level to reveal the level of Yechida. Zai, Apikol Anal is moving their kesher. Based on all the above, it's understood the connection to Vision. Maisov v'terosov avidose, his actions, his teaching, and the service of the Alter Rebbe, from Bala Hayilula, from the Alter Rebbe, with the Parsha Shemos, the Minyan from Golus, with the section of Shemos, which is the idea of Golus. We can understand it now. Says Yodua, it's known. While we talk about the soul has the level of Yechida, there's also the soul Yechida in Torah. It says Yodua. Just as there is the level of Yechida in the soul of man, in Torah, there's also the level of Yechida in Torah, which is Torah's HaChasidus. That's the teaching of Chasidus. Und der Iker Gilui von Beginnes Yechida von Torah is in Chasidus Chabad. And the main revelation, where does the level of Yechida of Torah come, is in the Chasidus of Chabad. Vider Bal HaHilulot Megaligerem, as the Bal HaHilulot, the Alter Rebbe, revealed, Unarob Gitrogen Torah's HaChasidus in Havona V'Hasoga, he brought down the teaching of Chasidus into understanding and grasp, bichdei durch them, so that in order through this to kennen poil sein, to be able to impact euch also on the animal soul and the portion of the world. He brought down Chasidus into graspable, into understanding, so that you can use that to challenge and impact the animal soul and the portion of the world. Bis zum Hapich sein sehr mitzias, to the extent you use the Chasidus to change the Nefesh Habamis Chelek Ba'olam, you change their existence minakotza lakotza, from one extreme to the other extreme. Valdavke in them drückt sich aus der Etzem von Pnimiyus HaTorah. Because specifically when you change the world and you impact the world, that expresses the essence of the Pneumius HaTorah, the Yechida, the essence of the Pneumius HaTorah. Das heißt, which means, Kishem v'sotzor gered by mention, just as we had discussed by the person. Adis galus fun Yechida etzman neshama, that the revelation of the Yechida of the soul, which is the essence of the soul, is davke when the koiches hageluyim. It's specifically when the revealed koiches. Zayin in a matzev, they're in a situation when Helen vehester, they're blocked and obscured in golus. Azoy is been a gay b'chinas Yechida in Torah. The same thing is as it is connected to the level Yechida of Torah. As Ivert Nizgale Davke Dan, that when is it revealed? Only then, specifically then, when Zidarf Oifton in the Madriges Tachtoinus for Nefesh Abhamis V'Chalke B'Olam, when it needs to accomplish in the lower levels of the animal soul in this portion of the world, that's when you revealed the inner part of Torah. Und wie der Pisgam from Bal HaHilula, as the euphorism of the Alter Rebbe, Kol Inyan HaChasidus L'Shanis Taves Midosav. The entire the entire idea of Hasidus is to change the nature of your character, to change yourself around. So when you need to change your character, you have to use the most deepest and the highest level of Torah, the Pneumius HaTorah, the Etzem, the Yechid of Torah. Und das ist die Nekuda Meshutefes von Meise V'Toras Avodos. This is the common point from the actions, teaching, and service of the Alter Rebbe from Bal HaYilula, Umailus Havoide in Zman HaGolus, and the advantage of service in the time of exile. In Beide tut sich auf, that in both in Golus and in the teachings and actions and the service of Alter Rebbe, it accomplishes the Hisgalus for Yechinas Yechida, the level revelation of Yechida, Davke in an ord was is mushlo von Gerul, specifically in the place which is negated, which does not have, which is not preview to the great revelation of Oyer. That's where you get the hiskashrus of the Yechida of the Etzem and Neshama to function, and the essence of Chassidus to impact the Tira B'Tachtonim. And this is also, the Rebbe says in the name of the Alter Rebbe, Shnei Oyer Zalman, to bring down the light into Lizman, into time. Says Yedu Ches. Says Yedu, it's known as the Darge Navoida from Bal HaHilula, that the step and the service of the Alter Rebbe is Merumas in sein Nomen, is hinted in his name. Shneier Zalman. Shneier is Meloshen Shneier. Shneier is from the language two lights. Zalman is Oisius Lizman, is the letters to time. Beide nemen zusammen drichen ois, and the two names together, Shneier Zalman, they express the chibur from Shneier Mizman, from the two lights with time. They bear in them. The explanation. Shnei Oir meant the two lights, wie the Baal Shem Tov had gesagt, as the Baal Shem Tov had said, by the birth of the Alter Rebbe, and the name of Shneier, wegen dem Alter Rebbe, as wird beleuchten the Welt, that he will illuminate the world mit the zwei Lichtigkeiten, with the two lights, the Licht from Torah Sanigla, the light of the revealed Torah, and Licht from Torah Sanister, and the light of the esoteric part of the Torah. Und the Oiftu for Shnei Oir in ein Wort. And what is the novelty having the Shnei Oir in one word, Shnei Oir, not separate, is as beim Alten Rebbe is given der Schleimesdike Chibur by the Alter Rebbe, there was the wholesome connection for Niglo and Nister. He combined completely, fully, wholesomely the revealed and the esoteric. To the extent they became one, Shnei Oir, one. Was der koyach of them is gekommen. The power for this came about, therefore, because because he revealed and he drew down the essence of Torah, Yechida Shebet Torah, the Yechid of Torah. was is hecher von alle gedorim von Helem Vigilui, which is higher than all definitions, whether obscurity and revelation is beyond revealed and hidden. Und the far hat sie bekoyach, and that's why that has the power to mechaber zayin the beide oiris. That's why it can connect these two lights from nigla, v'nista the Torah, from the revealed and hidden part of Torah. Und das hat mamshich given lizman. So the reason why he can have Shnei Ur together is because he revealed a higher level of Torah, the essence of Torah, in which nigla and nister is not applicable. It's beyond hidden or revealed. And this he later on drew down Lizman into the world, in time, was is verbunden mit Olam, which is connected to the world. Oich Loshen Helem, the world meaning also from the language of obscurity. Das heißt, which means Oich in der niedriger Welt, that also in this lower world, so leichten Schnee Eure should shine the two lights, der Chibur von beide Eures, the connection of these two lights. Demol Davke, and then specifically, Kum der Gilui from Beginnes Yechidische B'Torah. Then you have the revelation of the Yechida, that level of Yechida of Torah comes down when it impacts Davke in the lower world, to connect it in Lizman. We get at freer, as we said earlier, as the Gilui Beginnes Yechida, that the revelation from the level of Yechida is Davke b'madrega chitachtoina, is specifically on the very lowest level. In an ort was is nit kein keli zu gedoim. It's in a place which is not a vessel, a vehicle for revelation. There, Golus, there you get the level of Yechida. You get the higher level. Yes. So we don't want this to remain obscure. We have the level of Yechida, so you'll connect to Yechida, but it won't come out Begilid. The Rebbe is going to conclude that we need to bring everything out into the revealed. The ultimate goal is to have that Yechida function in a revealed way. Test, we get feel more. As spoken many times, is that Tachlis HaKavona, the ultimate intention of the Eibishter is as Oichdi in Yonim Shalamayla Mehi Hishtalshlus, and also those aspects that are above the Hishtalshlus, and from Koiches Odom, and from the powers of the person. So Kuma Begilu, they should come revealed, and in Apnimius, and in an inner, in Koiches mentioned, they should also come down into the power of the person. Nit not in a Helendik Zman HaGolus, not just in an obscure way, like in the time of Golus, which we don't see, we don't have the Koiches, and there's no revelation, but we need it to come down openly. Although there is an advantage in the service at the time of Golus. Then is aroused, woken up, when is Gala revealed, the level of Yechid of the soul, is the Chober that Tachlis from Golus. However, what's the goal of Golus? The Geula was kommt noch dem. It's the redemption that follows, not to stay in Golus and get Yechida, but to bring about the Geula durch them. Das heißt, as der Gilui Bechines Yechida, and it comes through the Golus, comes the. So, but it should come revealed. We have to go through first Golus in order to get that revelation. Das heißt, as der Gilui Bechines Yechida von Zman HaGolus, that means that the revelation of this level of Yechida, which we experience in the time of Golus, so Meir Zayin Oich in the Koiches Pnimim mentioned, should also shine in the inner parts of inner powers of the person. Und Oich Zeizel Zayin durchgedrungen von Herz und Nefesh, that they too should be penetrated from the essence of the soul. You can say possibly, this is the Oiftu from Baal HaYilula in Todas Chasidus Chabad. This is the novelty of the Alter Rebbe in the teaching of Chasidus Chabad. As Etzem Pnimis HaTorah, that the essence of the inner part of Torah was his Hecher von Ishtauschlus, Untam which is higher than the Gestaltlus and reason and understanding. And seemingly can only be taken, not intellectually, not reasonably, but it's only through accepting and belief. That too should be brought down and come down, revealed and engrasped in Chabad Shebenefesh Odom, in the Chochmah Bina Das, in the understanding, the intellect of the human soul. Und durch them, and through that, Oilun sein, Oich of seine Midas, to impact also the emotion, the character, as on this werden mit Abba to be aroused with love and fear. And das is merumas in them, and this is hinted in the fact was the Istalkus is given Motzoi Shabbos Kodesh early all of the Parshas Ve'er. Up till now, we're talking about Shemos, the name of Shemos, but this is also the night, Motz Shabbos Kodesh, Saturday night, the light, the eve, the night of the Yom Al of the Parshas Ve'er of Sunday in the portion of Ve'er. Aber Ve'er steht nicht begilui. It's not yet revealed. It's Oir L'Yom Aleph. It's the evening of the Yom Aleph. It's not revealed. Was damals hat sich schön angegeben reden wegen der Gilui von Ani Havaya Chinas Atzmus Ein Sof. At the time of Eira, they started saying El Hashem Ani Hashem. It says Ani Havaya, which is the level of Atzmus Sof. Was is bis damals nicht gekommen lidei Gilui. Up till then, it has not been revealed. Lo nikarti lahem b'midas avitis. The pasuk says Ve'ela Avram Yitzchak Yaakov. But I have not been recognized to them in my true measure. Und Ve'era Lane is doch von Loshen Riya Vigili. And Ve'era itself is the language of seeing and revelation. Das heißt, as the Bechina was his Hecher von Hishtalshelus, that level, Bechina Madrege, the level and the step which is beyond, higher than Hishtalshelus, is a Rob gekommen lidei Riya Vigili Va'era. It brought it down. The Riya Vigili by from Paniminas, visible and revealed in an inner way. This is Mesichas Umaimer Shabbos Parshas Shmois Tafshin Chav Vav.